Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Stephanie Yocum. I am the Polk Education Association President, and we are here today to discuss the outcome of Tuesday's Impasse hearing before our elected school board, who acted as an impartial legislative body when they heard the PEA proposal versus the district salary proposal. So to start off with, the school board had voted in favor of the district's proposal for all three contracts. And so that means that our paraeducators and our secretary clericals, a $0 wage increase will be coming before you in the ratification process. And we'll talk about the ratification timeline in a little bit. Teacher unit, and that's classroom teachers, non-classroom teachers, our school counselors, school psychs, OT, PT, everybody that's in the instructional contract. The school board also voted to bring the district's salary proposal for teachers, for the teacher salary increase allocation, to you for ratification. And so we are going to discuss the district's proposal in a little bit more detail, and we're going to talk about the ratification timeline and what to expect, and what to expect. So first, let's talk about the ratification timeline. And so we are currently in the process of preparing all three contracts to go up on our website for review. And so what we're looking at is getting that finished up between today and tomorrow. Now the contracts have to be up for review for at least 10 working days. And so with us going on spring break next week, that week doesn't count as far as the review timeline. And so you will be receiving an email from PEA Monday, March 29th, when we return from spring break, with the link to our website to review the contracts, and a more solidified timeline. Because right now the timeline I'm going to provide, it's probably going to be the timeline, but it's still tentative. Because we are still looking at the company we're going to go with for the electronic ratification process, and a few other things. So it could vary a few days, but Monday, March 29th, when we get back, you'll have a solidified timeline with the link to review the contracts. And so this go around for ratification, we have received a waiver from PERC, which is the Public Employee Relations Commission, to do an electronic ratification versus a paper ballot ratification because of COVID-19. Most locals across the state, and actually I think every single district and local, they have done electronic ratifications because of COVID. You know, we saw some people working at home, and we don't want to have to deal with a lot of paper right now and people touching other stuff. And get that down as much as possible. So we will be doing electronic ratification with the email that will go out on Monday the 29th from PEA. It will also have more details on what to expect for that, with the ballot voting windows and whatnot. So be on the lookout for that email on Monday. It'll probably hit your work emails in the early afternoon, maybe a little bit sooner. And so that's our rough timeline right now. We would probably, because we have to, again, have the contracts for review for at least 10 working days. And so we would be able to start the electronic voting process probably Monday, April 29th, or not April 29th, April 12th. And we would run that for about 4 days because it's electronic. We don't have to worry about people having enough time to get their ballot back to the office because it'll all be electronic. And again, more details will come with that. And so we would have a vote count probably that Thursday. But again, we haven't contracted with a company yet. We are in the process of working on that. So we'll have more specifics about all of the stuff that will surround the electronic vote in that Monday email when we get back. And so we're looking at the school board ratifying on their side at their end of April meeting. And so currently on the district side of things, payroll will be preparing to switch over what they need to do on their end for payroll purposes for the teacher contract. And so we'll probably start seeing, again, this is all tentative, but and estimates right now, but we'll probably see payouts starting for semi-monthly people that in that middle of May check, and then for people that are getting monthly at the end of May. So that's kind of where we're at right now. And again, if things change, you will have a solidified timeline in your email when we get back on Monday from spring break. And so let's talk about a few questions that we have received that I guess you would call them frequently asked questions at this point. So there's been two predominant questions we have been asked. And so I want to take a few minutes to go through those answers. And as we get more questions, we will be sending out most likely another FAQ if we continue to get different types of questions. But right now, these are pretty much the two predominant ones. So the first one, the question we've gotten is, well, what happens if we vote no? And so I'm going to talk about what happens when you vote yes, what happens when you vote no. And so when you vote yes, we vote yes. And if the entire bargaining unit within that contract, so the teacher contract votes on the teacher contract, if you're a paraeducator, you vote on the paraeducator contract, secretary clericals vote on the secretary clerical contract. And so if our teacher unit as a whole ratifies yes, so that's 50% plus one, then it goes to the school board for ratification, and it would happen just like it normally happens. Now, what happens if we vote no? And that's in the case of a tie, like we had last year. We did have a tie last year. Or if it's voted down to where no's are the majority vote. And so if we have a no vote, what would happen, because we've gone through the impasse process, the school board would then have the right to impose the 3 items that they voted on Tuesday. So that they would then impose their salary proposals. And so paraeducators would still get a wage freeze, secretary clericals would still get a wage freeze, and the teacher contract would still get the district's proposal for the teacher salary increase allocation. Now, the other tentative agreements that both PEA and the district have agreed upon that are also coming before you, things like the blended learning stipend, the terminal pay, there's some evaluation language changes in the Article 15, nothing too crazy. We've gone over it earlier this fall, and some of the other MOUs, like the reopening MOU that's still in place, those could potentially go away per the impasse laws. Now, I don't know if the district would do that, but that is a possibility that tentative agreements could go away, and then we're left with just what the school board, voted to impose. And so we would get to that bridge, if we have to cross it. But I did want to inform you of the possibilities there. And so paras, same thing. Secretary clerical, same thing. I think the tentative agreements that we share are the terminal pay. You share that with the teacher contract and the reopening MOU. For the most part, those are the major ones. So same thing. The board would still impose the 0 wage increase for both of those contracts. So that's what happens if you vote yes. What happens if you vote no? The second question that we have received is for the teachers, is about the pay levels. And so I wanted to briefly explain pay levels, how we got where we're at from the Florida legislature. And I kind of enlarged the proposed pay scales from the district and the changes to hopefully better explain this. And so just a brief history, because this could very quickly turn into be an hour video if we really went down the rabbit hole of what happened in 2011 and how the Florida legislature from 2011 and then Governor Rick Scott killed your experience steps. So that could be its own whole separate video. I've tried to start that video many times, and it's very convoluted and very complicated. So just an overview here. Before 2011, teachers moved predominantly on experience levels. We called them steps back then. And so some districts, it was automatic. Some districts negotiated that every year, even though it seemed automatic, it still happened, et cetera. And so in 2011, what ended up happening is the Florida legislature and Rick Scott had decided that pay for performance should be how we pay our teachers. And so what that law did was it created two separate salary schedules, and that's what we have now. We have a pay for performance schedule, we have a grandfathered schedule. And now what that also did is it took tenure away, which was teachers' ability to get a professional services contract after 3 years in a district where they had good evaluations. They were offered a continuing or professional services contract. And so with the split and with the deletion of tenure, we now have annual contract teachers and we still have grandfathered teachers or professional services contract teachers. And so part of the pay for performance law, it affected how we can move based on experience on our grandfathered side. Because now the grandfathered or the professional services contract teachers, their salary movement for raises is dependent upon the highly effective annual contract teacher now. And so the law, this is state statute, this is the law. Every district has to follow it. Now, it looks different in each district because the state didn't mandate, exactly how it needed to look. And so each district had different grandfathered schedules. And so it looks different in every district. And so if you have friends in Hillsborough or Osceola or Alachua or Miami-Dade, every grandfathered schedule looks different. And so their pay for performance also looks very different depending on what they bargained for back 10 years ago. And so, but in Polk, the grandfathered schedule doesn't have equal years of experience increments. And so you have some years of experience where it's maybe $600 raise, and then when you get toward the bottom, it's maybe a $2,000 raise, depending on which year you would be moving to. Well, pay for performance really did kill that, because what happens is that your grandfathered teacher, so I'm just going to say GF, so your grandfathered teacher cannot make more than a highly effective annual contract teacher. In fact, your grandfathered teacher, the raise amount has to be $1 less than the annual contract highly effective teacher. And so if a grandfathered teacher were to get that $2,000 raise toward the end, and it's not exactly $2,000, but we'll just say $2,000 to make it easy numbers. And so if that grandfathered teacher were to automatically get that year of experience and get that $2,000 raise toward the end, so if a grandfathered teacher gets $2,000, the highly effective annual contract teacher can get no less than $2,001. And so districts across the state, and Polk included, could not fund that. And so you cannot move the grandfathered people first. You have to see what you can pay your annual contract highly effective teachers and then work backwards to see what you can give your grandfathered professional services contract teachers. Now, annual contract effective teachers also move and are dependent upon this annual contract highly effective teacher. Okay, so an annual contract effective teacher has to make, for a raise amount, 50 to 75% of whatever the highly effective annual contract teacher makes. So Again, 2001, 2000. To make numbers easy, we'll go with 2000. So 50 to 75% of 2000 is between $1,000 and $1,500. And so an annual contract effective teacher would have to make between $1,000 and $1,500 if the highly effective got 2,000. And so in theory, the Florida legislature from 2001 thought this was a great idea because you should pay people based on how they perform. But they didn't fund it. And so they didn't increase base student allocations to districts. They gave them this unfunded mandate and said, go ahead, kid, figure it out, which is what they typically tend to do to districts. And again, that's a whole other video. And so this is where we're stuck because grandfathered and pay for performance are not siloed. You can't move your grandfathered based on their years of experience because they are dependent upon this highly effective annual contract teacher because of the Florida statute. It's in the law. And this law passed in 2011. It was signed into law by then Governor Rick Scott. And it's law until somebody challenges it. And, until it's challenged, or if it's challenged and the Supreme Court of Florida, says no, then we're done. It's law. And so just as a side note to you, FEA currently has a bill sponsored by Representative Placencia, a Republican out of Orange County, that would fix a lot of this pay for performance craziness. It would actually delete it, and it would put us all back on one schedule, and it would also provide language to give flexibility for these teacher salary increase allocation funds. So I encourage you to go to www.feaweb.org/session to look at that bill, and I'm blanking on the bill number right now, but it's there. Look for look for it. We're watching education bills, but yeah, check out that bill, and we support that bill. That would help us immensely in districts like Polk at the table if we're back on one salary schedule. So that's our brief, and I know that really wasn't brief, but that's our brief history lesson on how the 2011 legislature and then Governor Rick Scott killed your experience steps. They don't exist. And that's where we're at right now. And so what we're looking at locally with levels, and again, we have the grandfathered schedule here that's proposed by the district. We have the annual contract pay for performance schedule. Now let's talk about the grandfathered first. Currently, the only people that were on these levels in green, which were right now currently 0 years to 8 years, are our teacher network managers. Those are the only people eligible to be on in the grandfathered side, even if they're newly hired to the district, are teacher network managers, because there's a caveat that they don't have data. And so here, really anybody in the white on the grandfathered schedule has been in Polk either from 2008 on, or before 2008. Because those are the people that were afforded professional services contracts at the time. And so what you're looking at here on the district's proposal that will be going out for ratification is that if you are currently, let's just say year 15. So if you look at your payroll stub and it says 15 years, then what they're going to do is cross out 15 years and they're going to relabel you at 7 years. Now, again, I know this is confusing because it still says years. We're getting some clarification on that as to why we need the word years there, because it doesn't reflect your actual years of experience. But that's the way it's written right now. So if you're at 15 years now, you would just be relabeled as 7 years. So that would be your new label on your pay stub. And then this $48,822 would be your new pay. And so if you are wanting to see what your actual dollar amount pay raise would be, you would take, the 48,822, and you would minus the new base salary of 45,172. And anybody past, in this white, except I think up here you're at 900. I'd have to look at the math there, because some people are getting 900 and then the rest are getting 650. So most likely you're on the grandfather side getting 650. But you can do the math there and subtract and see, just so you know, and don't have to take my word for it. And then all the way down the line, so if you have 30 years on your payroll stub, you would then be relabeled at 22 years, and your new base salary would be $63,522. Now, again, I know this years is confusing because you're not being paid on your years of experience. You haven't been paid on years of experience in quite a long time because, again, grandfathered hasn't moved a step based on experience, because essentially that doesn't exist anymore because of the 2011 Florida legislature and then Governor Rick Scott. So now let's look at the annual contract pay for performance. And so again, these levels like 001, 002, 009, 020, 020, they do not reflect years of experience. There are currently 78 levels on the pay for performance, and there is not a teacher that has 78 years of experience. Pay for performance has never been linked to experience, except when you're initially placed in the district. So that's the only time that years of experience count as far as, your movement. Because when you come into Polk, you do verifiable years of experience, whether you're coming from another Florida school district or wherever, and then they verify your years of experience. So like I came into Polk with 7 years of experience. So on the placement schedule, they said Stephanie Yocum, she has 7 years of experience. We're placing her on level 012, 7 years of experience. And so from there you move based on your effective or highly effective ratings at the end of the year. And that's how pay for performance works. So if somebody also came in the same year I came in and they started at 012, that level 12, right, with 7 years of experience, we could potentially, after being in Polk for 5 years, could be on different levels depending on our evaluations. Because Stephanie might move effective 1 year, and then teacher A might be highly effective and move 2 levels, right? And so that's how pay for performance works. Again, it's not years of experience after that initial placement into the county. And so when you are looking at your pay stub, right, you're on staff portal, look at your payroll pay stub, and like mine, I am at level now, I'm at level 015, okay? So currently I'm at 015, which is crossed out. So find where you are on the crossed out one. So I would be at 015. What the district would rename my level, I would now be at 004. Now, you're not moving to the old 004. Okay, look at the line. So here I am currently on level 15. Okay, when the district renames level 15, I will be at level 4. And my increase of pay would be $900 because of where I'm at. So it rolled up from 4,200 all the way down to 900. Like there's a little band here, they got 900. And then after that, it's 650. And so that's how you need to read this. And so all the way down at the bottom, okay, currently, let me get this. Okay, our very last level If you're currently at level 078, payroll is going to rename you at the new level 067, and you just go follow your line. That would be what your new base salary is. And so if you want to, or actually, don't pay attention to that. I found a mistake. Sorry, guys. So if you want to see what your raise amount is, you need to see what you currently are paid, and then subtract that from your new pay. Duh. So anyway, so fix that. Go back and erase it, fix it. Ms. Yocum made a mistake. And then that's how you find your raise amount. Most people are getting $650. Most people. More than 50% of us are getting $650. There's a few people kind of in this little middle area that are getting $900. And then up here, they're getting between $4,200 and $1,200. But that's not too many of them. It's less than half. It's less than half of our teaching staff. And so I hope that, and this is a very long video, it's a lot longer than I had wanted or anticipated, but there's a lot of information here. Oh, and just real quick, too, before we go, advanced degree amounts have not changed. So your master's degree, you'll still add $2,181. Your specialist degree, you'll still add $2,899. And if you have a doctorate degree, you'll still add to your base pay $3,220. And all school psychs and OTPTs will take your base salary, what's on your pay stub, and you'll add $650. So we will put out another video when we get back from spring break to better flesh out the timelines and what to expect with electronic voting for the ratification vote. And so we'll put that out. So be on the lookout for that after spring break. We'll also codify that in an email, and I'll send you the link to the video too, so you can get the information either way or both ways. If you as you develop questions or think of things, please reach out to us. We want to help you get as much information as you can and be as educated as possible when you're making your decision on how to vote. And I just want to let you know that we fought a good fight, and this is where it's at. We'll be back at the table in May after session ends, and we'll be at the salary fight again. Thank you for all of your support to our bargaining team through this year. I know it's been hard, but we'll continue to fight, because we will always fight for what's right, and we will always fight for you. We will always bring your voice to the table. I hope you guys have a great spring break. I know that I don't want to patronize you and say, take a mental health break, but really at least take some days to recharge and come back refreshed. We have 9 more weeks to survive. Please get your shots. Please get your shots. There's a lot of locations now that you can get shots at. Keep hitting that refresh button if you're trying to get it at a pharmacy. And just stay safe while we're on break. And let's come back refreshed, and we will continue the fight. Stay engaged through this legislative session, because there's really good stuff and there's some really, really bad stuff. So sign up for the FEA action alerts, and please, if FEA sends you something out that says we need action now, please take a few minutes to do that action. Not only are we advocating for our profession, but we are advocating for our kids. And that's what we do. We amplify our voices as 150,000 members across the state to not only advocate for us and our professions, we advocate for our kids in public education. So again, have a great spring break, and we will talk more about ratification and timelines and such when we get back. Thanks, guys.